Senator Claire McCaskill is keeping an eye on the election from St. Louis, and KOMU8 News is there with her.
Plus, a live report from Springfield at Josh Hawley's watch party. It's a race that could go far into the night.
While attention was on the election, a man was shot and killed outside of an apartment complex in Columbia. KOMU8 News at 6 starts now.
KOMU8 News starts with Smart Decision election coverage.
There is 1 hour left until the polls close. Voter turnout is much higher than expected. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
I'm Emily Spain. Thanks for joining us. It's led to long lines for voters looking to have their voices heard. KOMU8's Nikki Ogle is live at a polling place with what it's looking like right now. Nikki.
There's still a pretty good line here at Trinity Presbyterian. It's not as bad as it has been earlier in the day. Now, the Boone County Clerk is expecting a 80% turnout. Now, that is what he says could match or even surpass previous presidential elections. Now, like I said, the wait time here is about 20 to 25 minutes, and that's if everything stays running smoothly. Earlier today, about an hour after this polling location opened its doors, there was one of those electronic ballot boxes that broke. Workers did get that fixed fairly quickly, but it did slow things down for a little while. One voter says he came to this location 4 times today. He was trying to avoid the line. The first time he got here, there was a 20-minute wait. The second time, an hour. He's back here now, and he says voting is important to him no matter how long he has to wait in line.
Oh, we got to get our voices out there. We got to get our opinions out there. If we don't, man, everything's just going to be ran by the government and society, and, you know, who actually gets out there and votes, you know, and if we're not out there voting, who is?
Now, the Boone County Clerk tells me that every ballot that is cast will be counted, but you have to be in line by 7 o'clock. Poll workers will mark the end of the line here at polling places, so be in line by 7 to cast your vote. Live in Columbia, I'm Nikki Ogle, KOMU8 News.
We have live team coverage from across the state tonight.
We start with one of the biggest Senate races in the country. Incumbent Senator Claire McCaskill against Republican challenger Josh Hawley. KOMU8's Eric Graves is in St. Louis at McCaskill's election. Eric, what's it look like inside there?
Jim and Emily, it's pretty packed around me on the press riser, but so far here in the ballroom, it's empty. McCaskill's people have told me that they're not opening the doors until 7 o'clock, and you know, you still do have an hour left to get out and vote, folks. McCaskill is trying to defend a seat here that she's held since 2006. In the past couple weeks, she's been pushing that she is not a party line Democrat. When I was last here in St. Louis for a debate of McCaskill against Hawley, Hawley called her a party line Democrat, and McCaskill fired back saying she votes with President Trump 50% of the time. KOMU8 News fact-checked that and found on the blog 538 McCaskill's Trump score, a rating of how often a politician agrees with the president, was 45%. So McCaskill was 5% off that. Yesterday at a campaign event in Columbia, McCaskill flipped the script, saying that if Josh Hawley is elected, he would be the one being a party line voter.
That's because I try to call them based on the issue and not always based on a party line. I think what Trump coming here time after time, I think, is reinforcing to a lot of Missourians that he is going to be a party line guy, and that's not what we need right now in America. We need somebody who can knit it together in the middle and find that place of compromise where we can actually get things done.
We're expecting a late night here, folks, and we are not going to leave until you have the final results of the election. Reporting live in St. Louis, Eric Graves, KOMU8 News.
The doors of the Josh Hawley campaign watch party just opened up to the public moments ago. KOMU8's Abby Dodge is live in Springfield, where the watch party is taking place. And Abby, tell us a little bit about Hawley's last push before Election
People are
Day.
Starting to trickle in the doors now, but as for Josh Hawley, he's been all over the state for the past 2 weeks. His most recent stop in Cape Girardeau, but before that, he made stops in smaller towns like Mexico and Hannibal, and those stops are not by accident. We spoke to an RNC committee person last week, and she says that those smaller towns have been targeted by the committee for the past 2 years.
The RNC's had a ground game in Missouri for over 2 years so that we can talk to voters one-on-one, have a conversation throughout the state, especially those rural areas.
Hawley is hoping to get as many of those rural votes as possible, as this race is in a dead heat right now. Reporting live in Springfield, Abby Dodge, KOMU8 News.
Supporters of medical marijuana have 3 different ballot initiatives to choose from. 2 are amendments to the state constitution, while the other is a proposal to reform state law. KOMU8's David Estrada joins us live in Columbia with a closer look.
Jim, that's right. Amendments 2 and 3 in Proposition C are competing for the support of voters just like them. Now, all of them will legalize medical marijuana, but again, only for medical purposes. Now, Amendment 2, also known as New Approach Missouri, would impose a 4% tax to retail sales. Those funds will go to the health and care services of military veterans. This is the only proposal that explicitly allows people to grow marijuana at home. Amendment 3, or Find the Cures, would impose a 15% tax on retail sales of medical marijuana. Those funds will go to the newly created Biomedical Research and Drug Development Institute. Physician and attorney Brad Broshad, who actually has promoted this initiative, would be the one picking the members of the research board. Finally, Proposition C will reform the state law and impose a 2% tax on retail sales. A portion of the funds collected would go to veterans' health and care, public safety, drug treatment, and early childhood development and care. Now, if all proposals pass, Amendments 2 and 3 will trump Proposition C, and the amendment with the most votes would pass. Reporting live in Columbia, David Estrada, KOMU8 News.
In other news, Columbia police are investigating a homicide on the city's east side. The shooting also injured another person at the Lynx apartment complex. KOMU8's Alex Arger has been following the investigation this afternoon. Alex?
Police got the call around 11:30 this morning. Since then, this crime scene tape has grown to surround most of the area behind me. Most recently, police blocked off the backyard where they found the 2 victims. The body of the man who died was taken from the scene just over an hour ago. Police took 2 men into police cars for questioning, and they were released around 3. A city spokesperson says they have no suspects.
With the scene integrity maintained, the forensic investigators along with the criminal investigation investigators are on scene right now, and they're doing their work.
One woman came to the scene saying she was one of the victims' mothers. She showed photos of her son to the police, hoping that it could help them identify which victim he was. I've seen a lot of police cars leaving the scene recently. One officer says they will probably be going door to door later to see if any neighbors have any more information. Reporting live in Columbia, Alex Arger, KOMU8 News.
Coming up, a measure for funding law enforcement and road work is on the ballot, and with a lack of organized opposition.
Plus, will Missouri voters support a higher minimum wage? We'll have a live report from St. Louis after the break.
And temperatures still right around the 50-degree mark, slowly getting down into the 40s. We have some moisture still overhead on live Doppler First Alert radar, and some of it finally starting to fall out to the west. I'm tracking that, plus snow chances and our coldest air of the season coming up later.
KOMU 8 News spoke to Democratic State Auditor Nicole Galloway today while she was in Columbia meeting with volunteers. Former Governor Nixon appointed Galloway to the position following the death of former Auditor Tom Schweik. Galloway says Missourians want an independent watchdog in office.
You know, when there are bad actors in government, people don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. They want them to be held accountable, and I have that track record.
Galloway is one of 2 Democrats who hold statewide offices. The other is Senator Claire McCaskill.
Challenging Galloway for the state auditor's office is former Air Force veteran and lawyer Sandra McDowell. Throughout her campaign, McDowell faced questions about both of her qualifications and her personal finances. McDowell, if elected, says she'll bring transparency to the auditor's office. In August, she won the Republican nomination against more experienced and much better funded candidates. Her campaign contributes this to her hard work and grassroots campaign style. McDowell's campaign says if elected, she'll bring transparency to the state auditor's office.
MoDOT says it's more than $800 million short for road improvements. It's hoping Prop D will make a difference. KOMU 8's Matthew Judy is live in Jefferson City with more on the proposed fuel tax hike.
Good evening, guys. I'm outside of the Missouri Association of Realtors in Jefferson City, where today, Safer Mo later this evening is going to be having their watch party. They are the coalition really pushing Proposition D. Now, the proposition has received broad bipartisan support, including Governor Mike Parson, Senator Claire McCaskill, and more than 70 groups statewide that have endorsed the proposition. If it is passed, the gas tax will go up 2.5 cents per year for the next 4 years. Currently, the gas tax in Missouri is 17 cents. Now that ranks second to last nationally, only ahead of Alaska. If it goes into effect, it will reach 27 cents per gallon in 4 years. That will rank in the 30s nationally. Revenue generated by this tax will go 2 different places: road and bridge work and the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Now, again, there is no formal opposition to the gas tax, but as we've seen in past years with taxes on the ballot in Missouri, it's always an uphill battle, so we will keep you posted all night long. Reporting live in Jefferson City, Matthew Judy, KOMU 8 News.
And Proposition B allows Missourians to decide whether they want the minimum wage to increase. KOMU 8's Mercedes McKay joins us live now from St. Louis, where she is waiting for the Raise Up Missouri watch party to begin.
Raise Up Missouri is a coalition of advocates working to raise Missouri's minimum wage gradually. That watch party starts in about half an hour down the street. Proposition B would raise minimum wage to $12 an hour by 2023 if it is passed tonight. According to the State of Missouri Office of Secretary of State, the current minimum wage is $7.85 an hour, and if Prop B goes into effect, it will increase by 85 cents every year. Raise Up Missouri says the increase in minimum wage will strengthen Missouri families, boost local economies, and help Missouri taxpayers. There are no political action committees registered in opposition of Prop B, but those I have spoken to who are against it say the increase would reduce hours for employees and decrease job openings. I will be here in St. Louis until the votes are counted. Live in St. Louis, Mercedes McKay, KOMU 8 News.
All right, take a look here at our weather. You can see a lot of cold air that's going to be rolling in. I'm tracking that, plus our next chance of snow. It's not this system, it's this one. I'm tracking that hour by hour, tell you when we're going to see that snowfall, what it means for us, and track that cold air too. It's coming up right after the break. Welcome back to KOMU8 News at 6 o'clock. Take a look at our big picture. You can see this cold front to our north. That's actually going to stay north, push towards the Great Lakes region. We're looking at this moisture moving in from the Rocky Mountains eventually. That's what we're looking at for our next snowfall, our first snowfall of the year. So hour by hour here, this is our nowcast. We've been tracking some rain overhead so far this afternoon, but it hasn't, it's actually just been evaporating in our air. It's been basically going into this dry air and then going back up. It hasn't been reaching us at the surface, but it's also now starting to saturate our air. So we're expecting some of this rain to eventually fall down as a few sprinkles or a brief shower here this evening around 8 p.m. Then it pushes out tomorrow with a little bit of cloud cover. We will have more moisture overhead, but we're going to have more dry air back in the area by then, so I'm not expecting any rain tomorrow morning, as this model is showing just some cloud cover here by 7 a.m. Then as we head towards the rest of the afternoon, we're going to see a lot of sunshine here on our Wednesday. Cool temperatures for sure. And then as on our Thursday, if you look over to our west, here are the Great Plains. You can see that system rolling in from the Rocky Mountains, dumping snow for Nebraska and Kansas, and it's heading our direction too. Already here is our 5 p.m. hour. The system's going to roll in as rainfall. It's not going to be snow right away. So rainfall moving in for the late afternoon, and then eventually it's also running into some dry air right at the beginning. So first, that rain has to then saturate the air like it's doing right now. So it has to do that again on Thursday. Then once that happens, and assuming that that happens, that rain gets that job done, then temperatures get cold enough in our upper atmosphere that this starts to fall as snow, even though temperatures at the ground level here, right where we are, could actually still be a bit above freezing. It could still fall as some snow, but also we are looking at this to not necessarily stick to the roadways, only grassy surfaces, because on the grass between the blades you have air, and the snow can just kind of fall right on top of that grass, and it's allowed to stay there until it eventually melts away, but it takes a little longer. Luckily, the soil temperature is warm enough. As it hits the roadways, it's going to make them wet roads, but it's not going to actually accumulate on the roadway. So we're not expecting problems with that. Then as this pushes out of the area, we're going to have a little bit of flurries possible on Friday morning. Otherwise, that's going to push out of the area. And then we're looking at another weak wave actually for Friday afternoon that could bring us a few more flakes by Friday afternoon. But the big thing we're tracking for the end of this week through the weekend and early next week is this cold air. You can see it all up here in the north. Let's track that hour by hour because we're also going to have a lot of wind on Friday. So feel like temperatures, our wind chills are going to be very important. Here's 6 a.m. in the morning. We are feeling like the middle 20s. By the afternoon, we're still feeling like the middle 20s. Again, it's windy, gusts around 35 miles per hour on Friday, going to keep that wind chill steady throughout the day. As we head overnight, here's Saturday morning, 5 a.m. We're feeling around 10 degrees with that wind chill. It's going to be a cold one for the Mizzou game on Saturday, but wind should be a bit calmer on Saturday. 35 for our low temperature tonight, fairly seasonal for this time of year. Again, a brief shower or sprinkle as that air is being saturated right now. 50 degrees tomorrow afternoon, a mild day for us. Average high temperature still in the upper 50s for this time of year. And then we're at 44 on Thursday with that rainfall then changing over into snow overnight, accumulating less than an inch on grassy surfaces and then melting away eventually. We're at 39 on Friday, but feeling a lot colder thanks to that wind. 40 only for the high temperature on Saturday, and we're going to be very cold at the beginning of next week. Next Tuesday, potentially high of only 32. Here's your Weather IQ question for the day, sponsored by Break Time. Typical frost that we see on clear, cool nights is called gray frost, shaved frost, or hoar frost. What do you think? So this is like when the grass is kind of crunchy, right? It's just perfect frost on grass.
Shaved. I'm going to say shaved too.
Shaved.
It's actually hoar frost.
Should have known.
And it's actually from Old English. Yeah.
Interesting.
Who would have known?
Some new trivia for us.
All right, Kenton, thanks. We've got voting tonight. We've got football. We've got basketball. It's the trifecta. Sports is next.
from the Ford Sports Desk, KOMU8 Sports.
Big weekend surrounding the election, but also a big weekend for Missouri football. MU recorded its first ranked win in the Barry Odom era by defeating the formerly number 11 Florida Gators in the Swamp. Offense has been under scrutiny as of late, especially the right-hand men to Drew Lock, the wide receivers. A lot of young ones on the roster this year, but Drew Lock and Barry Odom think they have stepped up thus far.
They were learning a little bit at the beginning of the year how to become that, and they've kind of found their roles. They realize what it is they need to be good at, what it is they need to focus on to be the best them that week and to do their job correctly.
You know, individually, guys stepped up either because of injury or because it was their number was called, and they played really well. And I think that it maybe helped us learn and continue to learn and talk about the process of what it takes on all of your habits leading up to game day.
Odom said Albert Akawebunam didn't practice today, so the Tigers may need to lean on those younger guys once again this Saturday versus Vanderbilt. Just across the road from Faroe, though, Mizzou basketball tips off at Mizzou Arena for the home opener tonight. Missouri takes on Central Arkansas, looking to continue that streak of successful home openers. Tigers have won 4 straight. Last time Missouri took on Central Arkansas, though, it wasn't too pretty for the Bears. Missouri had a blowout win, 116-63, a Mizzou Arena record for points in a contest. Record-wise, though, Missouri was the 3rd most improved program in the nation last year. But this year, the stage is set for 7 p.m. tonight. Expecting to see a lot of those newly acquired faces on the floor tonight. The Illinois transfer, Mark Smith, among those newly approved to play despite that transfer rule. And, of course, one of those missing faces on the floor will be Jonte Porter, following his ACL tear in a scrimmage last month. Tips off at 7. Stay tuned for highlights at 9 and 10. That's sports.
Coming up on KOMU 8 News at 10, the polls close in about 30 minutes, and all eyes are on the Missouri's U.S. Senate race.
We'll have team coverage of that race from across the state, plus other anticipated races here in Missouri. Join us at 10. Kenton.
All right, live Doppler First Alert radar showing some of this rainfall finally starting to roll in, and likely some of this over to the west. There from Marshall is going to be falling actually to the ground now at this point, saturating the air enough. Temperatures around 50 here. Currently, we're going to be down to 35 by sunrise. Temperatures in the upper 40s, around 50 tomorrow. Some cloud cover in the morning, then sunshine tomorrow afternoon. That rain rolls in Thursday, snow then Thursday night into Friday morning.
Crazy.
NBC coverage of the election starts at 7 o'clock. We will be on twice each hour at 26 after the hour and 56 after the hour.
We'll see you then.